So we keep on reading from chapter 3 of this book, Behold the Pale Horse. And the chapter 3 is called Oath of Initiation of an Unidentified Secret Order, from a mother who states that her son took this oath and who must remain unidentified. Author's note: the author makes no claim whatsoever regarding this oath. It was handed to me by a woman who claimed that their son took this oath. Another source, Dr. Ron Brown, independent of and not known by the first, furnished a copy of the Congressional Record of the House of Representatives dated February 15, 1913, where the same oath is entered as purported to be of the Knights of Columbus. The congressman may have been wrong, however, since the content indicates that this oath may belong either to the Society of Jesus, otherwise known as the Jesuits, or to the Knights of Malta, which is the militia of the Pope. I include this oath only as an example that such oaths do in fact exist and are subversive. Because of the impeccably correct and difficult level of English used, the obvious expert knowledge of religious terminology and form, and the content and format of this oath, I consider it highly unlikely that it is a forgery. You must be the ultimate judge of its authenticity. The truth will win. This is the oath. I, now in the presence of Almighty God, the blessed Virgin Mary, the blessed Saint John the Baptist, the holy apostles, Saint Peter and Saint Paul, and all the saints, sacred hosts of heaven, and to you, my ghostly Father, the Superior General of the Society of Jesus, founded by Saint Ignatius Loyola in the pontification of Paul III and continued to the present. Do, by the womb of the Virgin, the matrix of God, and the rod of Jesus Christ, declare and swear that His Holiness the Pope is Christ's vice regent and is the true and holy head of the Catholic or Universal Church throughout the earth, and that by virtue of the keys of binding and loosing given His Holiness by my Saviour Jesus Christ, He hath power to depose heretical kings, princes, states, commonwealths, and governments, and they may be safely destroyed. Therefore, to the utmost of my power, I will defend this doctrine and His Holiness's rights and custom against all usurpers of the heretical or Protestant authority whatever, especially the Lutheran Church of Germany, Holland, Denmark, Sweden, and Norway, and the now pretended authority and churches of England and Scotland, and the branches of same now established in Ireland and on the continent of America and elsewhere, and all adherents in regard that they may be usurped and heretical, opposing the Sacred Mother Church of Rome. I do now denounce and disown any allegiance as due to any heretical king, prince, or state, named Protestant or Liberals, or obedience to any of their laws, magistrates, or officers. I do further declare that the doctrine of the churches of England and Scotland, of the Calvinists, Huguenots, and others of the name of Protestants or Masons to be damnable, and they themselves to be damned who will not forsake the same. I do further declare that I will help assist and advise all or any of His Holiness's agents in any place where I should be, in Switzerland, Germany, Holland, Ireland, or America, or in any other kingdom or territory I shall come to, and do my utmost to extirpate the heretical Protestant or Masonic doctrines and to destroy all their pretended powers, legal or otherwise. I do further promise and declare that, notwithstanding I'm dispensed with to assume any religion heretical for the propagation of the Mother's Church's interests, to keep secret and private all their agencies, counsels from time to time, as they entrust me, and not divulge directly or indirectly by word, writing, or circumstances whatever, but to execute all that should be proposed, given in charge, or discovered unto me by you, my ghostly father, or any of this sacred order. I do further promise and declare that I will have no opinion or will of my own, or any mental reservation whatsoever, even as a corpse or cadaver, perinda cadaver, but will unhesitatingly obey each and every command that I may receive from my superiors in the militia of the Pope and of Jesus Christ, that I will go to any part of the world, whithersoever I may be sent, to the frozen regions north, jungles of India, to the centers of civilization of Europe, or to the wild haunts of the barbarous savages of America, without murmuring or repining, and will be submissive in all things whatsoever is communicated to me. I do further promise and declare that I will, when opportunity presents, make and wage relentless war secretly and openly against all heretic Protestants and Masons, as I am directed to do, to extirpate them from the face of the whole earth, and that I will spare neither age, sex, or condition, or that will hang, burn, waste, boil, flail, strangle and bury alive these infamous heretics, rip up the stomachs and wombs of their women, and crush their infants' heads against the walls in order to annihilate their execrable race. That when the same cannot be done openly, I will secretly use the poisonous cup, the strangulation cord, the steel of the poniard, or the leaden bullet, regardless of the honor, rank, dignity, or authority of the persons, whatever may be their condition in life, either public or private, as I at any time may be directed so to do by any agents of the Pope or superior of the Brotherhood of the Holy Fathers of the Society of Jesus, in confirmation of which I hereby dedicate my life, soul, and all corporal powers, and with the dagger which I now receive, I will subscribe my name written in my blood in testimony thereof. Should I prove false or weaken in my determination, may my brethren and fellow soldiers of the militia of the Pope cut off my hands and feet, and my throat from ear to ear, my belly opened, and sulphur burned therein with all the punishment that can be inflicted upon me on earth, and my soul shall be tortured by demons in eternal hell forever. That I will, in voting, always vote for a key or C in preference to a Protestant, especially a Mason, and that I will leave my party so to do that if two Catholics are on the ticket, I will satisfy myself which is the better supporter of Mother Church and vote accordingly. That I will not deal with or employ a Protestant if in my power to deal with or employ a Catholic. That I will place Catholic girls in Protestant families, that a weekly report may be made of the inner movements of the heretics. That I will provide myself with arms and ammunitions, that I may be in readiness when the word is passed, or I'm commanded to defend the church either as an individual or with the militia of the Pope, all of which I, name and surname, do swear by the blessed Trinity and blessed sacrament which I am now to receive to perform and on part to keep this, my oath. In testimony hereof, I take this most holy and blessed sacrament of the Eucharist and witness the same further with my name written with the point of this dagger dipped in my own blood and seal in the face of this holy sacrament. Now, the chapter 4 is called Secret Treaty of Verona, Precedent and Positive Proof of Conspiracy, from Congressional Record, Senate, 1916, page 6781, and the American Diplomatic Code, Volume 2, 1778, 1884, Elliott, page 179. 1916 Congressional Record, Senate. Mr. Owen, I wish to put in a record the secret Treaty of Verona on November 22nd, 1822, showing what this ancient conflict is between the rule of the few and the rule of the many. I wish to call the attention of the Senate to this treaty because it is the threat of this treaty which was the basis of the Monroe Doctrine. It throws a powerful white light upon the conflict between monarchical government and government by the people. The Holy Alliance, under the influence of Metternich, the premier of Austria, in 1822, issued this remarkable secret document, American Diplomatic Code, 1778, 1884. The undersigned, specially authorized to make some addition to the Treaty of the Holy Alliance, after having exchanged their respective credentials, have agreed as follows. Article 1. The high contracting powers, being convinced that the system of representative government is equally as incompatible with the monarchical principle as the maxim of the sovereignty of the people with the divine right, engage mutually in the most solemn manner to use all their efforts to put an end to the system of representative governments in whatever country it may exist in Europe, and to prevent its being introduced in those countries where it is not yet known. Article 2. As it cannot be doubted that the liberty of the press is the most powerful means used by the pretended supporters of the rights of nations to the detriment of those of princes, the high contracting parties promise reciprocally to adopt all proper measures to suppress it, not only in their own states, but also in the rest of Europe. Article 3. Convinced that the principles of religion contribute most powerfully to keep nations in the state of passive obedience which they owe to their princes, the high contracting parties declare it to be their intention to sustain in their respective states those measures which the clergy may adopt, with the aim of ameliorating their own interests so intimately connected with the preservation of the authority of the princes. And the contracting powers join in offering their thanks to the Pope for what he has already done for them, and solicit his constant cooperation in their views of submitting the nations. Article 4. The situation of Spain and Portugal unite unhappily all the circumstances to which this treaty has particular reference. The high contracting parties, in confiding to France the care of putting an end to them, engaged to assist her in the manner which may the least compromit them with their own people and the people of France by means of a subsidy on the part of the two empires of 20 millions of francs every year from the date of the signature of this treaty to the end of the war. Article 5. In order to establish in the peninsula the order of things which existed before the revolution of Cadiz, and to ensure the entire execution of the articles of the present treaty, the high contracting parties give to each other the reciprocal assurance that as long as their views are not fulfilled, rejecting all other ideas of utility or other measures to be taken, they will address themselves with the shortest possible delay to all the authorities existing in their states and to all their agents in foreign countries with the view to establish connection tending toward the accomplishment of the objects proposed by this treaty. This treaty shall be renewed with such change as new circumstances may give occasion for, either at a new Congress or at the court of one of the contracting parties, as soon as the war with Spain shall be terminated. Article 7. The present treaty shall be ratified and the ratifications exchanged at Paris within the space of 6 months. Made at Verona, the 22nd of November, 1822. For Austria, Metternich. For France, Chateaubriand. For Prussia, Bernstedt. For Russia, Nesselrode. Mr. Owen. I ask to have printed in the Congressional Record this secret treaty because I think it ought to be called now to the attention of the people of the United States and of the world. This evidence of the conflict between the rule of the few versus popular government should be emphasized on the minds of the people of the United States. That the conflict now waging throughout the world may be more clearly understood. For after all said, the great pending war springs from the weakness and frailty of government by the few, where human error is far more probable than the error of the many, where aggressive war is only permitted upon the authorizing vote of those whose lives are jeopardized in the trenches of modern war. Mr. Shafrot. Mr. President, I should like to have the senator state whether in that treaty there was not a coalition formed between the powerful country of Europe to reestablish the sovereignty of Spain and the republics of South and Central America? Mr. Owen. I was just going to comment upon that, and I'm going to take but a few moments to do so because I realize the pressure of other matters. This Holy Alliance, having put a Bourbon prince upon the throne of France by force, then used France to suppress the constitution of Spain immediately afterwards, and by this very treaty gave her a subsidy of 20 million francs annually to enable her to wage war upon the people of Spain and prevent their exercise of any measure of the right of self government. The Holy Alliance immediately did the same thing in Italy by sending Austrian troops to Italy, where the people there attempted to exercise a like measure of liberal constitutional self government. And it was not until the printing press, which the Holy Alliance so stoutly opposed, taught the people of Europe the value of liberty that finally one country after another seized a greater and greater right of self government until now it may be fairly said that nearly all the nations of Europe have a very large measure of self government. However, I wish to call the attention of the Senate and the country to this important history in the growth of constitutional popular self government. The Holy Alliance made its powers felt by the wholesale drastic suppression of the press in Europe, by universal censorship, by killing free speech and all ideas of popular rights, and by the complete suppression of popular government. The Holy Alliance, having destroyed popular government in Spain and in Italy, had well laid plans also to destroy popular government in the American colonies, which had revolted from Spain and Portugal in Central and South America under the influence of the successful example of the United States. It was because of this conspiracy against the American republics by the European monarchies that the great English statesman Canning called the attention of our government to it, and our statesmen then, including Thomas Jefferson, took an active part to bring about the declaration by President Monroe in his next annual message to the Congress of the United States that the United States would regard it as an act of hostility to the government of the United States and an unfriendly act of this coalition, or if any power of Europe ever undertook to establish upon the American continent any control or of any American republic or to acquire any territorial rights. This is the so called Monroe Doctrine. The threat under the secret Treaty of Verona to suppress popular government in the American republics is the basis of the Monroe Doctrine. This secret treaty sets forth clearly the conflict between monarchical government and popular government, and the government of the few as against the government of the many. It is a part in reality of developing popular sovereignty when we demand for women equal rights to life, to liberty, to the possession of property, to an equal voice in the making of the laws and the administration of the laws. This demand on the part of the women is made by men, and it ought to be made by men as well as by thinking, progressive women, as it will promote human liberty and human happiness. I sympathize with it, and I hope that all parties will, in the national conventions, give their approval to this larger measure of liberty to the better half of the human race. Author's note: anyone who believes that the monarchs, after being deposed, forgave, and forgot, is not playing with a full deck. Most of these families are wealthy beyond belief and may be more powerful today than when they sat upon thrones. Today, they are known collectively as the Black Nobility. Just because the secret Treaty of Verona was signed in 1822 does not mean that the treaty is void. It is imperative that you realize that privately the Black Nobility refuses to ever recognize any government other than their own inherited and divine right to rule. They work diligently behind the scenes to cause conditions whereby they might regain their crowns. They believe that the United States belongs to England. These are the two chapters we were going to read today. Hope you enjoyed it.